Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Today I'm super excited. I have Nova Rain with me. Now, I met you online a long time ago. I don't remember exactly that connection, but we actually got to meet face to face at our buddy Sean Finnegan's X Room in Scottsdale. It was an amazing event. And we kind of just have been getting to know each other a little bit. But for my audience, because a lot of them don't know what you do, who are you and who do you help?
So I'm Nova Rain, like you said, and I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I have a master's degree in human counseling. So I work with men about leadership, identity, and alignment. So that's kind of been my passion work for quite some while, for quite some time since I left corporate and all of that world. So now I help those in corporate and entrepreneurs instead
Nice.
to be the rest.
Here's where my question is, because a lot of people that listen to this show are either salespeople in corporate trying to get out of corporate
Yeah.
or entrepreneurs that have gotten out, but maybe they're building the life that they love living. How did you even start making that transition? Because a lot of people like the idea of it, but then when they realize that there's no safety net, it freaks
Yeah.
them out. How did you even start to get or go through that process?
Right. So I was working as a GM for a large company, and I am a single mom, 100%. I don't have a co-parent that has my children ever so often. And then also, um, I don't have family to help out. So I had to kind of be sure that I could figure it out on my own. And I realized corporate America here in the US, it's not very forgiving. It's becoming more and more, but not so forgiving for that situation. And I just had to start figuring out. I wanted to figure out ways to use the experience that I have. I come from such a diverse family. I come from my dad and my brother are Olympic athletes. My uncles, I grew up with that. They were super famous pop stars in Europe and on the other side because they won Eurovision. So that's a huge thing. That's a billion people that watch that. And I was up front and center with all of that. Plus that my parents are big entrepreneurs. We have built the largest restaurant company in Sweden and where I'm from originally. So, I figured I've been here before. I can figure out solutions. So I decided to leave that position, and I was able to, with the connections that I had made, and to kind of start that journey to build my own company, doing um, being able to support people in corporate and entrepreneurs that are pushing themselves. And I my the those that I work with are usually between, I have someone that are younger. It's Gen Z is amazing. I'm just stunned. Like I mean, at 24 years old, 23 years old, they've start their own, car wrapping company. They're,
Hmm.
sales, a lot of them are in sales, but it's amazing to see it, just this generation that's coming up, and they're so young and they're so successful. I mean, we saw that at Scottsdale,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know, all the cars there, most of them were owned by, there were, I mean, luxury cars that I'd never seen. I didn't even know Rolls-Royce had an SUV.
I didn't either.
But yeah, and Maserati, I think too, an SUV
Yep.
there, right?
Yep.
And most of them were owned by Gen Z. So it's
Hmm.
really cool to see that generation coming up. We're trying to take back what's been going on here for a bit, but yeah. So I work mostly between 35 and 50. That's kind of where I find that's kind of the lost generation right now for men,
Hmm.
and they're pushing hard, and I want to be able to help bridge kind of the space that they're in right now.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's actually funny you said that. My son is an electrician. He's 20. He's going through the apprentice thing, but by the time he's 23, 24, he'll have his journeyman and he can start his own business. It's like
Oh yeah.
I'm looking there going, I don't know what happened, but like I'm Gen Z, so I'm closer to that 50 range, and I'm gonna be
Oh, you're
49
Gen
next week.
X. You're
I'm
Gen
Gen
X like
X.
me.
Wow, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
tired. Yes, I'm Gen X. I'm not Gen Z. We were talking about Gen Z, and
Yeah,
that's the
yeah, yeah.
funny
I'm
thing.
like, I had
But
to think, I'm like, you
no,
look
no,
great.
I'm Gen Z. Yeah, I'm not that young. My son was, I mean, I'm Gen X. My son is Gen Z. Wow, I'm just
Yes.
flipping my words. But what I'm saying is that like our generation was kind of like the rugged go-getters, and then we had a couple generations not being mean, but they're kind of learned a little bit soft, and now it's like it's going back to that. I'm
Yep.
going to be the individual. I'm going to build the life. I'm going to be the family, and I love that. How do you help? Because you made this statement about men and how you're helping men because they're trying to seek and figure things out. And I know when I hit 38 to 40 because I was in corporate America. I have, you see the awards behind me. I crushed it. And I was empty with it. It's like I was bored. I'm like trying to figure out what do I want to do?
Yeah.
So I've been trying different things. How do you help? Is that what you do? You help men and possibly women as well transition from, hey, I'm super successful in business, super successful in this. Now I want to move forward and build my dreams. Is that kind of the flow that you do, or?
It can be part of that, but really what I'm catching is, so I found that the Gen X now and then millennials, with the Me Too movement and also the feminist movement that came on, it really brought a really hard space for men today.
Mhm,
So at the age I thought you were going to go when you said that age, I thought you were going to go, that's, but you kind of said it where, there was a burnout. You're starting to feel like you're just in a rut. And for many, they're starting to feel like they're just a paycheck. And so we go back. So mine is more focused on the mental health of it, finding their identity in this new cultural space. Because we have, well, first of all, we have the largest male loneliness epidemic that's
mhm,
just rushing in, right? So that's huge. And then also, we're just seeing a loss of identity that needs to be found again. And that's where, we talked before we started recording about our friend Sean, and well, I thought we were at this event, and I love he's starting men's groups. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm starting to see more and more of that. We have for military, we have men's groups coming up, and for them it's actually, I have some military, and they are probably, if they can keep it up and keep with their brothers, so to speak, they're probably in kind of the best space because
mhm,
they have a social network of other men, which most men today don't have. I mean, I'll have, super successful, way up there corporate or entrepreneurs, and they take care of the family, they do all the things, and they don't have a single male friend that they can turn to, that they can
mhm.
talk to about life and all of these things. And that is very, very important. So I kind of work as a bridge to for them to be able to find a space where they can have other male friends similar to their situation, where they can support each other. And there's some other great things with that, but it'll come up as
Yeah.
we go along.
Yeah. Well, no, I love that because thinking about it through my life. Now, I probably right now have 5 or 6 really good male friends, but I've had to cultivate it. But I know
Yes.
tons of guys that have no one. And
Yeah.
guys have been, especially my generation, has was told, suck it up, deal with it, don't talk about your feelings, don't talk about your life, don't do any of that. And what happens then is you burn out and you break down. Like I've seen
Yeah.
so many, like you said, super successful people that on the outside, they got the car, they got the stuff, they're providing for their family, but they're empty. So how do
Yeah.
you help men with that? Because you mentioned it a few different times. How do you
Yeah.
help them bridge that gap? Because a lot of times I can talk easier to a lady than I can to a man because men, we're looking at each other okay, and we're comparing, but a woman, when she comes in feminine, we're not comparing ourselves to them normally. So how do you help men break those barriers because instead of it being I'm gonna beat the man instead and actually connect.
Right. And it's funny that you brought it up. You kind of gave me the perfect bridge right into it. But what's happened since the 50s, when men started going out working, we created the worker bee generation, right? And instead of being farms and all of this, so, and entrepreneurs, so we had men going into the workforce, so they were out of the home, and then the kids were raised by their mom, especially the boys. This is what affects them when they don't have other male figures around, especially. So you would have the boys that grew up with a mom, and then they went to school, and that was primarily women. And then later on, we start seeing a lot of divorced families and split apart. And then again, it ends up being the mother that has them most of the time, even in the divorced families. So we're seeing this long, like, curve of men growing up, seeking the approval and learning communication with women and not with men.
Hmm.
Now, I'm going to try to say this in a um like in a PG kind of rated
Oh,
way,
you don't have
but
to PG on my show. You
okay,
can
good.
say whatever you want, drop F bombs,
Okay,
it
good.
doesn't matter. You're good.
So the problem with that is that psychologically, and that goes into another topic of what drives men or what makes men walk like superheroes in the world, and that's physical intimacy, and that's going to be primarily with women, right? Because most we have heterosexual community. And so when you learn your language to women, even if you are not going to sleep with her, it's still going to be in the back of your mind that you need to be a good boy so that you can get the reward.
Hmm.
And that stifles, and that's why we're seeing this problematic thing in relationships now and marriages, because now it's going into more, you're not, your only role is not a provider. It is also to be there as a human being and be okay with that. And that's where it's getting really hard. So men connections are very important because in those, men learn how to talk about life and talk about things without having that in the back of their mind that they need to be a good boy. And that actually becomes very attractive to their female partner,
Hmm.
that they no longer talk to them as they have a covert agreement all the time in the back, but they actually talk to them about life, because they have learned that with their male relationships. So it's crazy important for the era that we're kind of walking into, where men and women are like having to find themselves a new culture shift.
Yeah. So is it more, and I'm just thinking back through life and all, when I didn't have male friends, when I was there and I'm like talking to my wife about other stuff or doing different things and all, and it could make the relationship not as connected because it wasn't as, I'm trying to think of the right words here. She wasn't the one I should have been talking to certain things about. Like having a
Right.
male friend or having a brother that you can talk to, because like you mentioned this, and I'm an old soul nerd. For thousands of years, we worked together. We went to war together. We trained together, father, son, or
Yep.
apprentice, master, whatever, however that
Yep.
worked. And
Yep.
now it's like, I think and I think this is, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I think this might be where the dynamic happens because we have, and I'm going to use your terms, that good boy in our head. When we're talking
Yep.
to our wives, we're trying to please them. If I'm talking to my buddy, like if I'm talking to my friend Brian or even Sean or someone that I'm closer to, I can talk way differently and be a little bit more abrupt or say things that I'm not going to say to my wife or to
Right.
another lady. So I think, like you said, that disconnect and then suicides, prison, all the different things, if you look at it, because of the
Yep.
epidemic of, I call it the epidemic of fatherlessness. This is just my
Yeah.
lens of
No,
it.
that's very well
Um,
put.
if you don't have a father in a home, everything is a lot more statistically
Yep.
going to the bad. Suicide, addictions, all of that. So how do we help men bridge this gap? Because in this day and age, especially, and I'm going to say this when I annoy some people, for a while there, if you were white and heterosexual, you and a male, you were horrible. Like you were just the villain no matter what. Not you didn't do anything, but like, and I'm not
Right.
saying they're not bad white heterosexual men. So don't hear me not saying. But you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
we've
No.
just been victimized in a certain way in that regard. So I think a lot of men just block themselves off and just I'm just going to take care of my stuff. How do you help them bridge that gap? Because how do you get them to even open up? Because men, a lot of times, I think, have to do stuff together. Face to
Yeah.
face with men normally is
Yeah.
not making them drop their wall.
Yeah. Yeah. So I recommend, and it's great for women too, because it helps you kind of understand the dynamic that goes on that can get a little bit cringy on the women's side, and also the covert agreements that are not always intentional, that but causes a lot of problems in relationships. And it's called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. So No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover, and it's, you can find it in book form, or you can listen to it on Audible. And I highly recommend that all my clients have to read it. So we work a lot from that, just so they can kind of see the patterns that they have gotten stuck in that really doesn't serve them, and it makes them feel actually more demasculized than masculine, because they're just trying to run all these circles. But one thing that we do is that we go back to basics after. We also working just from gratitude, the bottom level of rewiring the brain, because in the end it can't be all about how there's someone for everyone else, and it has to be first that they, if they can find themselves, if they can find a baseline where they can like themselves, like, and I know that sounds so like, but that's actually helping them create a masculine baseline that they can work from. So yeah, so that's kind of where we start out, and then we work out from that book. And I have a 12, I do single sessions later on, but I have a container program of 12 weeks where we work through all of these things in certain steps. So it's called the Kingmaker program.
No, I love that. Because I think about it, I've been Mr. Nice Guy before. Even though honestly, if you look at my background, I like have the alpha statistics. Like I've won
Right.
President Circles Award. I talk to CEOs of billion-dollar companies and million-dollar companies and close them on deals. Like
Yeah.
that's not typically Mr. Nice, but in life and all, I've seen myself be Mr. Nice Guy in my family, in my stuff, and like even putting myself first. Because I'm just talking about like the different things I'm hearing you say. I have
Yeah.
a hard time doing that, and I know what it comes from. I know it comes from my childhood and wounds and all that stuff. So like I would say I'm at step one on that. Like I have at least understanding of it, but you've mentioned that book. It's the second time I've heard it, so now I'm definitely gonna go get it because I've not read it. No, I'm Mr.
Mm.
Nice Guy. But how do you help someone that on the outside in the business world or life world they look like they are, but as you know, a lot of people have a persona, but maybe they're stuck in the Mr. Nice Guy stage. I know you have a 12-week course, but what are some key things that maybe guys can start doing now? And we're definitely going to have them come to you because I know, as you as well, once you start trying to fix things, you're going to get stuck and you're going to need someone like Nova to come and help you.
Right. Yeah, and we're that's very important to go back what you talked about really quick about the weakness. We need men to understand that sharing your feelings is not weakness. Weakness would be if you get stuck in it. You
Hmm.
get stuck and you feed this victim mentality and all. Then you're looking at weakness. Then you're just becoming, you're not functional for any goal or purpose that you really want to be in. Um, so it's we're talking about vulnerability, and that is something that's actually really sexy, both for yourself but also for any partners or people. It's a different kind of confidence that you walk in, and you also become healthier with that. So we the way that we work the program is, sorry, say that question again. I got lost because I was thinking about your
Oh
other
no,
point.
no. Just how do you help the guy on the outside? He looks like he
Oh
has
yeah.
it all together. How do
Right.
you help
Yeah,
him?
that's
Because
all of
in
them.
reality, he does not.
Right. So we kind of sort through what their relationships look like today, why it is that they sought me out, where they personally are finding themselves today, and from there we build upon the building blocks that they can actually stand on. They have to create a fund. Most of them don't have a foundation on their own. They've just been trying to have a career and be great at that and show the alpha part there, and then be in the family and do that, and somehow they're not feeling fulfilled in their career. Their relationships are not good at all. Their wife doesn't want to be around them. It's a very odd situation. So that's where I help create with them building blocks. And something that a lot of men don't know is that you will become more attracted to your partner when you have your own stuff going on.
Hmm.
Like, you can invite your partner to come to the gym or other things like that, but you having hobbies that you can bring home and talk about, that you have male friends. And there are a lot of people are getting sick of online. We did a lot of that, and we thought, oh, this is so great after COVID and during COVID. But people are realizing we really need each other, and there are groups coming up. Like, I really thrive on entrepreneur events.
Hmm.
That's my social juice. Like, I
Yep.
am not one for bars, or like I have my family and stuff. So I like to be around like-minded. And I just signed up for this thing that came up in an ad. It's entrepreneur dinners. So every 2 weeks I get a text message. I can join that, and I get a text message, and I can let them know if I want to join for next week's dinner with other entrepreneurs. And I went this week and it was phenomenal. So there are groups, there are ways to find friends in a very easy format these days. So that's what becomes important. That's what I help them see, is that you have to find you. If you don't know your person and who you are, then it's really hard to continue to build a life that you are fulfilled with, where your marriage works, or just your friends and all of that stuff. So that's really the building blocks that we go with. We open up venues that didn't seem like they existed before, and different solutions.
No, I love that because I was thinking about the fact I think because you're mentioning about men and running and all, and I think in your 30s you're running hard, you're just trying to build and stuff. You hit your 40s, honestly, you're like, what am I doing this for? And I do
Yeah.
agree with you because if your wife is your only best friend, you're going to exhaust her. From my
Yeah.
point of view, like what now that I have more people I hang out with, I go to the gym, I've been going to more networking events, I've been doing more of that type of stuff. Our connection's better because I think you have to have the polarity, and I think The other thing, and I want to ask you this because you are the relationships expert. I think too many times guys try to be nice to get something instead of do things to connect to make things happen. And I've been guilty of it. I'll be 100% honest, like anyone else. I've run into that trap. Like, we'll do the dishes, we'll do this. If I'm the nice guy, I think it's that you said that, it's been hitting in my head every time.
Yep.
Being the nice boy, being the good
Yep.
boy. You don't
You
want
get
to be
it.
the
You get the
good boy.
concept right
Yeah,
away.
yeah. You don't want to be the good boy for your wife or spouse or girlfriend or whatever. That's not fun. That's gonna annoy them. Um,
Yes.
oh, go ahead.
Very great. I mean, you'll reckon that's why the book is so great because it calls out all these things and you already know it. And which also proves the point that that's how most men live, they're trying to have that good boy. And I kind of bring up the simple point. If you lived single by yourself or you were a single dad, would you be doing these things anyways? Would you be doing the dishes? Would you mow the lawn? Would you clean the bathroom? Or you could get a cleaning lady, whatever. But like,
I'd
would
get a
you be in
clean lady,
charge
but
of?
yes.
Yeah, yeah. I know. We love them. We're so grateful for them. It definitely, I mean, I tell people too, if you're arguing constantly about who's cleaning the bathrooms or whatever, I would stop getting your mocha latte in the morning and
Mhm,
invest in a cleaning lady instead, and just take just silly things like that off the table so you don't have to argue. But yeah, if you would be doing those things if you were single, then you can't have a covert agreement that you're going to get something. Because, like you said, it becomes very annoying and cringy because women know,
mhm.
if you're only doing to get. And that's when it gets hard to build the connections because she starts putting up this wall because she knows, oh my gosh, it turns 9:30 p.m. He's been in the bathroom. Here we go. And he did the dishes and took out the trash. So, it's just, and yeah, so that's where the problematic comes out and where like you said, we are exhausting our partners. It used to be the men went out together and did the farm, right, and they worked
Mhm.
the land or whatnot, and then the women stayed home and took care of the kids and cooked or whatnot. It was very easy. You weren't on each other all the time. But these days we demand so much of our partners, and like you said it very well. Like it gets exhausting. I think it gets too much. I think
Mhm,
sometimes it's nice. Like I've had relationships where I haven't talked about anything from my past
mhm.
because it's just been so nice to kind of have that clean pool. Like I just don't need that's not part of my life anymore. I'm not in that mode. I just love that I can be in these relationships where I can just be around someone great and I don't need to bring my whole baggage with me all the time. And I think that's good for partners too. Sure. You need to know what's going on and you need to be open and not have secrets and all that stuff, right? You can't be like,
Mhm.
oh, I can't talk to them. But it's nice to have friends and other people that you can talk about different things with, and then you can bring some of the home and talk to your partner. So
Yeah, and I
yeah,
work from home. So, like, if I'm
yeah,
not going out, it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna talk to you about the pug again?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just sitting here
yeah,
going, like, I think you need that dynamic, and I think relationships I'll be married 25 years this summer. I think
oh, good for you.
relationships change over time. Like, I know I've changed 4 to 5 times in our life. When she first met me, I was just a young, crazy kid with big dreams and no money. And now we've
Right,
gone through different transitions and different things in life. And I think it's just finding what works for you guys. Like, first part of our marriage, she worked when she decided she didn't want to work. I stood up, stepped up, took a second job so she didn't have to. Now I don't have to do that. But at the time, it's
yeah,
just finding out what works for the dynamic of your family.
yep,
And then here's the other thing I think that a lot of people run into. We get so used to the mundane of the day, the in and out of the day, that we take things for granted, and then we get to the point where we want our need, whatever that is, male, female, like we both have
yeah,
different needs. And then
yep,
we're like, well, why aren't they doing this? And I think it's coming back to 100% ownership on your part. What are you doing to cultivate it? What are you doing to keep the spark? You can't, again, and it's probably just because it's quick in my head. Nice guys finish last because nice guys are not what attract women. Nice guys are
no,
what get things done.
yeah, exactly. Because it's not. They think that not like I you. Those are usually the ones that attack you when they don't get what they want. So there's not a nice guys there. There's a covert agreement.
Yeah.
So men with covert agreement, they finish last.
Hmm.
When everything that you do is to get. So it creates a very hard dynamic where nothing is natural. And also the female can't let go. She can't feel safe because there's always something that's wanted from her instead of her being able to come to her husband. I love that you have been able to realize that dynamic. It's kind of astounding how we, especially in the States, living in a capitalistic society, it's, there's no there's no like anything saving you, really, if you lose your job or whatnot. So we push ourselves very hard, and we have goals and purpose, and set up, but few people set up actual goals for their marriage. It's interesting. Nothing will ever be more important than the relationships that we have, such as marriage or what we have with our children. But yet, people forget to set up goals and actionable steps to make that continuously work. Whereas we do that for everything else in life. Like it really makes no sense. And that's kind of where we have to take a step back too. And like I had one client recently, and there was a lot of dysfunction in the marriage, and the children were having some serious issues in result of that, and it was escalating really fast. And I said, you don't have a choice anymore. I know you've been running from your home because it's a very uncomfortable space to be in, but if you don't sit down and you try and figure out what really is important, which is not running to every single entrepreneur network thing, every single day from early morning to late at night, you are going to lose what's most important. And in
Hmm.
this case, the marriage was over. It just needs to find out an exit. But I said, you're going to lose your kids.
Yeah.
And you need to figure out if that is what's worth it. Is it worth it running out like you're doing? And a lot of people haven't had someone who's just, again, that's why they need male friends. They need someone who can shake them and say, hey, you've got to stop. You need to sit down and thinking what's going on in your life so you can make better choices. It's time.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think it, because everyone puts their persona up, everyone puts their front up, and they don't want to drop their guard, but in
Yeah.
surrender, there's power. And I think that's the problem that most people have forgotten. And being intentional matters. Whatever you're intentional with works. It can't be transactional. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want transactional with my wife or my kids. I don't even
Right.
like transactional in business, to be honest with you. I am a sales coach, but I love the relationship aspect of it. And I want to make sure Nova is taken care of. I don't want it to be, I'm going to get you to buy something and you're gone. I'm going to make sure
Right.
I over help. I don't
Yeah.
even overperform, deliver, whatever. But
Yeah.
here's the thing you said, and so this is like kind of the quandary. We're in a very transactional society, but
Yes.
some things, especially relationships, can't be transactional. So how do you help men like that? Because I know that's probably a lot of them you're dealing with because they're like, but I just made 500,000. She should be happy. I just
Right.
took her to Italy. I just did this instead of, did you actually ask her what she wanted?
Right. Yeah, I actually have my dad was a lot like that. He's quite the wealthy man, especially by Swedish standards. And, I might have wanted to go see my family in the States, but he instead wanted to go and take a quick, shopping trip to London. Like, it just wasn't like matching at all. And yeah, I think that's why it comes down to Jordan Peterson. He said they have found in research, they have found that the magic golden is 90 minutes per week. And I know my daughter she's dating right now. She'll probably get married here. She found a really good guy. And she's like, 90 minutes? That's ridiculous. That's nothing. I'm like, well, just wait until you get into adult life with all of that going on, and, the schedules and everything.
Hmm.
90 minutes is gonna it's gonna be some minutes for you, I promise. I mean, they even say you need to talk to with your kids, not in the car, one on one, 9 minutes per day. Try that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's much harder than people think. But yeah, that's why it's important to have certain strategic steps in mind. We need to sit down and talk just about life, and just talk as partners and in relationships. You need to have that practice of talking to each other so that you can know those things. You know what she likes, you know what he likes. And so those 90 minutes, try it, put on a timer, whatever you like. That'd be kind of fun in the beginning to see what that does for your relationship, and finding out. But that's really what it comes down to. Come down to learning how to communicate in a healthy way, in a more inquisitive and curious way, so that you kind of treat your partner like the person you fall in love with every day, and you kind of
Hmm.
want to learn about them. So if you can live on that line instead of getting caught up in the stress and schedules, then you're starting to find like a good path
Hmm.
to a healthy way.
I heard 90 minutes. So are you talking about like, I don't know, like even the term date night, or are you talking about just where you sit on the couch and you guys can talk? Like my wife and I will go for walks every day because that gives us a chance where we're not having, because we can't do it in the house. We have too
Right.
many dogs.
Yeah.
We have
And not the car.
distractions in life. Yeah, cars don't
Not the
work either.
car. The car has some kind of odd dynamic where it
Hmm.
can really lead quickly to, it's something about the space. It's not good to have conversations there.
Is
So
it?
yes.
Here's my question, because with men and women, face to face is fine. Men and men, a lot of times we're doing stuff, we're not looking at each other, but we're still interacting. Is it
Right.
because women need that connection? That's why the car might not work. That's just where my mind went because I'm thinking I'm driving. She's looking this way. I can't look over while I'm driving. That would be dangerous or not
Right.
smart. I'm just wondering if it's just because of the face-to-face aspect of it, or the connection, or the bonding. I'm just asking. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like, yeah, that's a very good. You can't see each other. You're not looking into each other's eyes. And also, it kind of the energy field gets stuck in the car. It has nowhere to
Hmm.
go. So if you're starting to downward spiral, then it's hard to pick up from there because it just amplifies in almost like this recording studio in there. And it's funny that it's good. You're leading me in on all these things. You're doing good. Because I don't know if you know who James Sexton is.
No.
Yeah, it's another one. I tell me, if you're in my office, it's already too late. He finally released a book. He's one of the most successful divorce attorneys in the US. He's in New York, but he's a romantic, and he loves thinking about things, getting to know his clients. So it's very interesting to listen to him. And he said that he was asked in a podcast, what is the most effective thing for couples that you've seen that works to hold them together? And that's what he said, to take weekly walks
Oh, we
together.
take daily walks.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's really good. There's
well, but
another,
I like sun,
yeah.
so.
No, I think so. There's another couple very successful. They teach on Mind Valley. Just excellent program there. Mind Valley is Jay Shetty came out of there. Let's see what the name of the founder is again. But yeah, you can find them. They're another
Mhm.
huge community. But yeah, they teach about relationships and marriage there. That's what they do. They go out every night
Yeah.
together and talk, and that's what they say is their seven. So yes, I highly recommend that. It's undisturbed. You're in nature. It's something about that. You know, it's very good with physical touch. Try to hold each other's hands, or especially when you're talking or you feel like you're getting into your feelings, and it could go either way. It can be down or sad or up. Just try to have touch when you do that, because it's something that connects us while we're going through our conversations or our feelings. That's very healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's, you have to get away from the noise. Like I have to, like
Yep.
even I go for walks by myself. I am a big nature guy. Like I know I'll be in
Yes.
an office, I do my thing, and then I have to be outside for a while. I have to be in movement and I have to be in the sun or something because it just helps me. If not, I will get overwhelmed. Like that's just
Oh
how my
yeah.
mind works.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
I think we need to start making more space for just whatever relationship you're in. Because like when we
Yeah.
were at the X, I was able to talk to people. It was great. It wasn't like I didn't have any expectations on that, so I could just be me. And I think if
Right.
you come into things that way, it helps. I think too many times people try to posture.
Yeah.
So once they get the relationships fixed at home, the dynamic shifts everywhere else. It's my thought. Like they're going to be
Absolutely.
better father, husbands, leaders, like
Absolutely.
all this stuff. Is there what is the biggest challenge you still see with them? Is it just men not wanting to connect, or is what is the biggest challenge you run into with your clients?
I think it's being brave, because it's a change you have to make, and you also have to face sometimes some hard decisions. Like we we, we it can be a very hard spot. Like I'll talk to some of my clients, they'll tell me their story. I talk about, have you tried counseling? Has she tried counseling? Have you? And actually many of them, I don't take on clients who are in their complete wounds still. They have to have done some work, counseling, something like that before I work with them, because we're kind of taking it from there. Now, what do we do now? And then start working
Hmm.
with now and then and now and right now and presence. But it's interesting to hear the stories, because if this was reversed, if this was a woman speaking, we would be saying, you need to get out and you need to be happy.
Yeah.
You've tried everything, and you need to get out. But because it's a man, and then he sits in the power position, so to speak, a lot of times, with being the one who brings in the wealth and whatnot, then he sounds like the jerk.
Hmm.
then he's the butthole. Like he's the bad one. And I don't think that's fair. We're keeping men where they don't dare to speak in a calm way about what they need because it gets frowned upon, and it's become this weird dynamic with intimacy, and I don't understand. I didn't know that not having intimacy in a relationship was an option. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but if you're married, that's the part of it. Otherwise, you could just be roommates, like, have kids together and just have a roommate situation. I don't know. But for men, and I think the good thing about the book too is that I think it helps women understand, and this is what I see too. For men, it's like nature had this funny biology joke on us because men needs to have physical intimacy and sexual intimacy to be able to walk as a superhero.
Hmm.
I mean, it's the approval, it's being seen, it's feeling powerful, it's the feeling wanted by their partner, and that kind of gives them that superhero mantle when he walks out into the world. A man who has that, he will accomplish anything you ask of him. But you take that away, and there's going to be resentment. He's going to be bitter. He's going to crawl backwards. And then you have on the other end where women needs satisfied. Like women can have a high sex drive, but if they feel like they're always like that covert agreement, right? They start
Hmm.
retreating. Like it just becomes this weird dynamic. And so on the other hand, then women need like the talking, the 90 minutes, the being seen, and if they can be all of that, then the men get what they want. So it's important
Hmm.
dynamic to understand. It's important, like we can't always be women need to be understood and healed and feel safe. It has to also be understood that men are their very best selves when they don't have to beg, when it's understood that I can be my very best if I can get that from you, and then let's work on what you need too, so that you can, if you have the upfront, you can understand that natural dynamic, then you can have a relationship and you both get out of it what you want and need, and that's when you really become that power couple.
Yeah, yeah, and I think so many times we get it mixed up, or we both will go to just what our needs are or our wants. But I do want to go back to that what you mentioned because I think that's true. And this is a statement that a lot of women don't like, but I've seen it in my friend's life. A man will stay whether or not his needs are being met, and a woman is encouraged to leave if hers are not. Which
Right.
we need to change that dynamic to
Yeah.
work on meeting each other's needs, and if they're not being met, then make the decision. Because I think men get shamed for what, like you said, what women. Oh, you go, girl. He didn't do what you wanted. Oh, she didn't do what you wanted. Step up. Shut
Yeah.
up. Go to the gym.
Yeah.
Do your thing. It's like that weird dynamic that
Yeah. It's
is
very
in
strange to
society.
me.
Well,
Yeah.
it's with the feminist movement and all the different things, and it
Yeah.
flipped to the point of, and I have $2, and I want them to do whatever they want. I want them to build a life they love, enjoy. If they want to be an astronaut, I don't care. I'm great. I'm going to support them 100%. But I think anything taken to the extreme, whether feminism, conservatism, whatever, anything to the
Yeah.
extreme is bad,
Oh yeah.
because it just goes past the intended point of it. But I did want to
Right.
highlight that again because I think so many men out there are like in their heads because they're like, I don't have anyone to talk to. Like you see the reels online all the time. Who do you talk to when you are down and don't have anything? And 90% of men don't have anyone that they talk to. No one.
Right.
They'll say no one.
Yeah.
No one cares. But I
Yeah.
think people like you are starting to make that shift and help shine a light, at least in the entrepreneurial community, because that's the vibe that you run in. Um, let's do this. We're not done, but where, because I'm sure people are wondering, where can people contact you and get in touch with you if they want to work with you or just connect?
Yeah. So you can find me I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find me there under Nova Rain. So that's usually the easiest way that you can find me, and then we can kind of go from there. But find me there. That's going to be the easiest to find me on under my name, and then can go from there. But yeah, I'm glad you. It's nice with podcasts, I'm sure too, because you get to talk about these things, right?
Hmm.
You get to open up your like peripheral view to what's going on, because it's nice for me too, like you understand the concepts, like a lot of it you bridged in for me, so it's nice to see that you've lived and tried this. You've had a long, by standards of today, a long marriage, and it's nice to see a couple that's trying to take care of each other and try to understand needs from both partners. I agree with you completely. I'm kind of baffled to how this feminist movement has created this space where it's bad to have natural desires. It's bad to, call a marriage the needs that both partners have, and to be very upfront with that. And I don't understand the shaming or, the suppressing of what we need as human beings. And I think that's very important for both male and female to understand what each need to be their very best, and then try to find that space where you meet. Otherwise, you need to be okay, and we need to be okay with men being allowed to make those decisions too, and not be shamed for it if they, I can't get my needs met. Can I tell you a really crazy example?
Sure. Yes, please.
I have super successful corporate, also a consultant, and he has is on a second marriage, and she's bringing in stuff into the marriage. She was cheated on before and things like that, so she's hyper vigilant. She has him on a tracker. He is not allowed to have any longer stops besides work, so he has this. I said, oh, you have a Porsche club that you're in. I said, great, then that's a male group that you could be with, and you can, like, maybe you go out driving and then you guys can have dinner. He's like, no, I would never be allowed to have that. And this is where it got really crazy. And I want people to understand that it's a real thing. We've taken this way too far. He got cancer 5 years ago.
Mm.
And when he's out with his wife, she's always saying, you're looking at that woman, huh? You want her more than me. Oh, you want to be with my friends. I mean, it's on an insane level, and she will not do any kind of counseling. When he got cancer 5 years ago, he told her that his things don't work anymore.
Mm.
And that's not true. So for 5 years, he has completely lived by the story that he's impotent, so
Mm.
that when they are out, he can just say, well, what am I going to do? I can't do anything anyways. I would
Mm.
never want to be with her.
Mm.
Such an extreme
Oh, that
case. People
hurts.
think it's just
Yeah.
me, but that's so sad.
Yeah.
And we can't live in that space. We can't
No.
get there as a society. We have to turn that around.
Well, there's so many different dynamics you mentioned there. Because I'm just thinking about one, that's a story that if you're in it, don't live that. If the person
No.
won't change, and again, I'm always for marriage if you can save it, but sometimes you
Oh,
can't.
yeah.
And at that
Yeah.
point, it sounds like that person needs to get some work done by herself because that's
Yeah.
not a good thing there. But why is it that men are, we almost feel like we have to cover our needs? That's the thing that just really kind of sucks. I
Yeah.
can't express my needs because it's going to be And here's the other thing in the dynamic that, and this will probably be our closing thing, and I'll have to have you back on because I know we could go for hours on this.
Yeah.
In this dynamic, I think men stop asking because they've gotten told no, or you're
Yeah.
wrong, or your
Yep.
feelings don't matter, or it doesn't really matter at this moment because my needs are more important, or whatever. How do you help men even start to address it? Because again, that I'm going to go back to the good boy programming. Well, if I go and change this and change that, and I think what helped my marriage the most was when I stopped doing that. Like,
Yep.
literally, like, hey, I'm building this right now. I can't help out as much at home. Hey, I'm doing this right now. You want to do this? I'm doing this. It's really hard for me because I grew up as a people pleaser. I grew up with my mom was
Yeah.
very
Oh, you.
much the one that like I had to like make happy. And she passed in November, so I'm trying to make sure I'm saying this nicely. But I think it's hard for men that have come from that to understand how to, I guess, be a king in that regard. Because maybe
Yeah.
you're becoming a king because they're so used to that servant role, and then you add religion or Christianity on, and you're supposed to be a servant. They get stuck in that rut thinking it's going to work, and it doesn't.
Right. Yeah. No, again, I think it's, you have to go back to why are you here with me today? What is, the problems that you're facing? How are you feeling in the midst of all this? And then we have to take the steps to start working. You've come far, like you've already figured out this nice guy thing or covert agreements doesn't work. So I have to do something different. You try that. So that's what they need to do too. Just like you did, you do trial and error. I don't feel good here. Obviously, our marriage is not feeling good with the way that I'm behaving. I'm not getting my needs met. She's not getting her needs met. I mean, what can we, you might as well figure out what we can change. It's not good. So just,
Yeah.
start mixing, experimenting around. But yes, we take those steps. We set goals for things to try. And then you see how that works in your marriage. For some, works great. Like their wives start seeing that they're doing things for themselves, the way that they talk now to them, and and at work and all this stuff, they start, everything takes time, but if you know what your actionable steps are, it makes it easier, and then you
Mhm.
can either see what's the reaction here. Did it work? Did it not work? And for some, that becomes really successful. They're able to find each other back. They have a wife now that can't wait to devour them, and all this stuff. And she's feeling safe and seen, and he's taken care of. And but then there are others that have to face that we've come to a stage where there is not much we can change here, and those are hard decisions, but it has to be allowed for men to make those decisions. But first of all, to be able to talk about, and again, I think that's where it becomes important to talk freely in spaces where you're not trying to get some,
Mhm.
because then it's easier to express your needs without feeling it like. And we need to not. The problem is we need to have more of these good men coming out that can be an example to men, instead of now we've had the red pill, right? So a lot
Yeah.
of times when
Yep.
we go too far to the other side, well, now we have the red pill people that are standing on stage and saying F this and F that, and I go to the gym and everyone who works for me has to have a six-pack, and I
Yeah.
we need like men like you who have tried and tested, who are just like this person who's trying. You want your marriage, you're for it, you want to treat your clients well, you want to have a good space that you live in. We need to have more men like that to come forward. We need good examples. We need not to have people who call men who call each other simps, or oh, the old ball and chain. Like, it's such an imbalance. Women talk about their colors and how they want their wedding in 20 years from now, whereas men are being teased and told that they're losers or weak or simps if they talk about relationships or real things. And so we need the real good men to step up and be an example and show what works.
Yeah. No, I love that. As we land the plane, was there anything we didn't touch base on or that you want to leave our listeners with?
I believe that it's important to know that we can turn things around. Again, we see this cultural strange shift that we're in as something interesting, as a challenge to be able to turn around. There is in reality a 4 generational shift that does exist. You can see it. There's even a book called Generations, where we can see how 4 generations continuously work in the same way, regardless if it was 200 years ago or if it's now. And we are in a generational shift for good. Take the opportunity, just look for new ways to do things, because the pendulum is swinging back, and we need to take that and grasp the opportunity. Happiness
Awesome.
is a great thing. We should be happy being here.
Yeah, well, that's what this whole show is about. Waking up to a life you love living, no rules.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
that's the intent of the show, because it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're a
I love it.
multimillionaire, billionaire, or maybe you make a couple 100,000, but you're happy. The monetary value is not the thing; it's the life you live.
Yep. 100%. I
Awesome.
agree.
Thank you for
Yeah.
being on the show, Nova. And for all you listening, you know a guy and girl that needs to hear this episode. So send it out, share it to them, and then, guys, go find someone that you can talk to. Find someone that you can connect with.
Yeah.
That way you can start to become the person you need to be.